What is the craziest encounter of rich kid syndrome that you have experienced? I lived with 5 guys and I was the only one whose parents weren't millionaires. Not close at all. They never cleaned. About once a month I would deep clean the house, but 2 days later there was garbage and food on the floor. I found out they all told their parents the poor kid made all the messes when one of their moms came by to scream at me. Please finish your story. Tell me that you proved it was their fault, when one of their moms came by to scream at me. LOL. Some of this would be entertaining to deal with, but horrible to live with. A consulting manager I worked with was literally Stifler. Even looked like him. He was a Harvard grad. Dad was an exec at a huge consulting firm. Smart, but incredibly ditzy and trying really hard to be normal. He walked into work one morning and asked one of his trainees if they got paid this week because he literally couldn't see the difference in his bank account. At least he's trying. Yay. He seems like he's trying compared to the other stories here. Not scathing like most of the ones on here. I grew up attending a private school in a developing country, so a lot of my classmates were in the 1% of the country. Whenever we'd be swimming in the school pool, one friend of ours in particular would always remark that swimming is more fun if the pool has a current or waves. To which I had no idea what he was talking about and generally thought he was just being imaginative. One day he invited me over to his house for swimming and he had a 50-foot indoor pool that generated a current waves. He wasn't lying. They are a lot more fun. A personal wave pool. That sounds awesome. I once went to a water park a few hours away where they had a special pool that creates waves. Can confirm. Lots of fun. Too bad it's so far away. Can't imagine having something like that in my house, LOL. My college roommate's mom gave him ducking $1,400 for the weekend just randomly. He blew through the whole thing by Saturday, asked his mom for more money and was screaming at her because she promised $1,400 for the weekend and he spent most of what she gave him on Friday, which isn't a part of the weekend. Damn, what do you even spend $1,400 on in one day? Besides clothes, shoes, edit. Seems like this comment kinda blew up. Consensus says cocaine, haha. LOL, my mom would give me $20 for the weekend when I was in high school. Most of it was spent on Saturday because $8 goes to a local venue and then $6 for Taco Bell afterwards. Always had a blast with my friends on those weekends. Knew a trust fund girl whose dad gave her the money to start a company. She lost it when she went on vacation for 6 months and forgot she was supposed to pay her employees all the time. She assumed they would not get paid for 6 months and be there when she got back. I quizzed her on this for a few minutes and it was clear she had no idea what a job was. I hope they sued her for whatever missing pay they were owed before they quit. Also, she went on vacation for half a year. Good friend of mine. My dad bought me a house and now I can't buy a house of my own. Stamp duties here are insane to prevent rich people from driving up property prices. Although I have to say that I really respect my friend very much for his desire to actually step out of his dad's shadow. What country do you live in? This happened a couple of weeks ago at the Infiniti dealership. I was in the waiting room with a very well-dressed lady for our loaner cars. She left the waiting room to look at her loaner and came back crying. She said she drives a fully loaded QX80 and they gave her a QX60 with nothing in it. I said sorry that happened and asked how long she was going to have the loaner for. She said a couple of hours. I wanted to tell her to suck it up, but instead I sat there quiet thinking how life must be easy for her to cry over a loaner car. This one is just making my head spin. They're all bad, but this isn't a child. And the way you said lady makes me not think it was a 21-year-old either. Whoa, I worked at a Mercedes-Benz dealership. I know exactly the type of person you speak of. Was told I can't be seen in a C-Class once and I nearly quit on the spot. A Saudi guy in the UK got in a crash with light damage to one side of brand new Mercedes. He called for one of his assistants to come get him, even though the car was fully drivable. My friend rolled up on call with his tow truck and asked the guy where he wanted the Merc towed. The guy gave him the keys and said, "Keep it, I don't want it." Damn, I need to befriend some Saudi princes. Those people have unfathomable ludicrous amounts of money. Wrecking the car was probably on the level of cracking the screen on your phone for us normies. Girl got a 2-year-old Range Rover for her 17th. Now 20 and still doesn't have her license. Sits unused in their 4-car garage. At least the parents were smart enough to buy used. I used to have a friend who would constantly say I love when my dad gives me money, and if I ask for a certain amount of money my parents always give me $50 extra. This girl then bought an apartment boasting about it on Facebook and how proud she was of herself, how at 23 she was able to afford a home at such a young age all on her own. Still makes me want to face plant into a pile of jagged rocks. Call her out on her bullshocks next time she posts. I'd love to see that. Same. The part that killed me was some dude on Facebook commented on her post about buying a house. I'm keeping this post to show my kids so they know what I expect them to be able to do when they're your age. I feel so sad for his kids if he really does that. Everyone's going to be disappointed. A girl in my school was surprised by her parents in the school's parking lot with a new BMW. A freaking BMW. Everyone who is out is basically watching this go down and she starts crying. At first we are all thinking it's because she's so happy, but then she runs back into the school. Apparently they were supposed to show up earlier. I'm assuming when there would be more students to witness the surprise. I felt bad for the dad because he looked totally embarrassed and sad about it. You know, in his head he's like, I created this monster and X200B. Sorry, but that's what the dad gets for trying to stunt and flex on a bunch of kids. And for what? He could have presented the gift at home. Apple doesn't fall far from the tree. There's a YouTube video of a girl crying because the luxury car she had just been given was the wrong shade of pink. Dad bought his college-age daughter a house in a very nice neighborhood so that she and her friends could live rent-free while they attended university. He remodeled the entire house. In all he probably spent close to $2 million. 2 weeks after moving in, they left a candle burning while they went to the store to get snacks for a football game. Came home and the house was on fire. A month later, it was good and new for them to move back in. I mean, the upside is that he probably had insurance on the home. Must be nice. My retirement plan consists of pooling my money together and purchasing a shotgun I can operate with my big toe. Not exactly rich kid syndrome, but there was this family that had 2 children who attended the elementary school that was connected to my middle school. Every day the 2 parents would leave the house and drive separately to pick up their 2 kids before returning home. I should mention at this point that they each drove a Lamborghini, one black and one orange, back to back in the pickup line to get their kids from elementary school. At first I thought they were just being showy, but then I realized that they were 2-seaters, so this was really the only way to do it. Modern problem. Nah, it's showy. If you actually have Lamborghini money, you can probably swing the cash for a Honda Civic or something for boring errands. My personal favorite was in college. Kids down the hall from me bought a brand new Fender Stratocaster and played with it for a day and got bored and sold it to me case and all for $20. I still have it and play it 15 years later. It's a great guitar. Had a kid that lived across the hall from me my freshman year of college from Honduras. During one of the icebreakers after freshman move-in he leaned to me to ask if I knew when the maids came to make his bed clean. I guess his family was very well off in his home country and the entire semester was an eye-opener for him in actually taking care of himself. Depends on how you define well off. I live in South Africa and minimum wage is around $1.44 an hour. Had a Sheikh roommate for a while. It was his first time living on his own. We had to teach him how to use the washing machine, oven, microwave, how to wash dishes, how to grocery shop. He was super cool about it. He had just never lived without in-house cooks, cleaners, and maids. First day as a librarian in a private school. Help a 7-year-old with the printer. He offers to tip me. I like this one because he is not a snot. He's just trying to be polite. That's one gentleman right there. There was this rich kid in our class who was literally disgusted by us buying used stuff, like computer parts, on eBay. Once during conversation I said I bought on eBay memory module for my PC and said to me that I should have a little dignity, and if I buy used stuff I should keep it to myself. Laughs and $10,000 used car. This one is kinda mild I guess, but goes to show how clueless wealthy kids can be, completely unaware of the disparity between them and average income people. Anyways, he picked me up in a new $85,000 sports car one day, the newest Corvette special edition model fresh off the line. I said, holy shocks dude, your car is incredible. He said he wished everyone knew he had to work a full month with his grandfather and earned it himself. At least he did some work for it. Baby steps. I watched rich kids of Instagram on YouTube and I'm still recovering. Take comfort in the fact that those Instagram accounts are used a lot to bust the parents for tax evasion. Edit for a source. This from the UK. Not sure if the same has been done in the US. https://www. Mirror. Co. UK News World News. Rich kids accidentally getting parents $7,692,964. Don't most of them get their money from their mafia boss dads? Kids trying to straight up bribe bouncers and even police officers. This is less surprising when you realize they were international students from rich families where bribes are common expected. Thankfully, they'd learn really quick to not do that. I was talking to a guy who does a lot of work in the developing world. He says bribing a cop in those countries is the equivalent of tipping a server here. Kids trying to straight up bribe bouncers and X200B. A lot of people pay bouncers for special favors, not really a rich thing. Police on the other hand. Nice. Please smash the subscribe button to enjoy daily AskReddit content. I had two friends in college who were from UAE. They were brothers, and their parents were sending them to school in the US. They were actually pretty cool and down to earth, if not a good bit weird. They knew I didn't have a ton of money and couldn't afford to do the cool stuff they did, so they covered me all the time. Crazy stuff, like renting a private plane to go to a concert, black cars with drivers, expensive dinners in exclusive clubs. On the weird side, they slaughtered a goat in the bathtub to make a traditional Arabian dinner, and they wore far too much draka. Slaughtered a goat rich, but aren't afraid of getting dirty. I like the cut of their jib. They knew I didn't have a ton of money and couldn't afford to do the cool stuff they did, so they covered me all the time. Well, that's nice of them. They slaughtered a goat in the bathtub to make a traditional Arabian dinner. Well, how did it taste? GF family is wealthy. She's working her way to it, but she was waiting to get a chance for a promotion, and the words "I cannot believe anyone would make somebody work for almost a year to get a promotion" came out of her mouth, and I laughed. There's a lot of rich kids in my particular business program in university. I met this one girl a few months ago at a social. We were chatting a bit about our program and she proudly told me about how she threatens to sue the school whenever things don't go her way. She also said something to the effect of, they have to take the threat seriously because they know I actually have the means to follow through. Haha. Put a ring on that but make her buy it. Compliment her on the ring. Fall in love. That's the plan. Go. Girl at work told me she hated her dad. I asked why. She said he keeps asking for money since she used his credit card for a Euro trip and left him an 80 grand bill from last year. So unrelatable I had to read it 5 times before I understood what you meant. Surprise. Surprise. Father. Ex-girlfriend's friend said to me, "Can you believe there are people who have never been on a private jet?" UHH. Yeah, I'm one of them. A majority of the world have never been on a private jet, sweetie. She knew. That's why she said it to you. A 14-year-old in full volume cursing meltdown. Where the duck is he? Because the pilot of the private helicopter that had brought him they had gone off to get a cup of coffee. The kid was done skiing for the day and found it totally unacceptable that he had to wait 10 minutes before he got flown home. That poor pilot. I hope he wasn't fired over a cup of coffee. When I was in college, a friend that was heavy in the frat life told me about a freshman that got kicked out for having a servant flown to town to do the hazing chores he was supposed to do. Don't talk to him. He'll think he's people. Imagine being the one on the plane getting flown in. Plane neighbor. So what brings you to Seattle this time of year? I went to college with a guy who totaled 5 Mustangs in a year. I don't think he was sober enough to remember any of them. At least he doesn't give up. It becomes worse when you realize he was talking about horses. I work in a jail. I always love when someone gets arrested and comes in screaming, "Do you know WHO my dad, mom, grandpa, uncle is?" He'll buy your entire F jail. It's even better when their dad, mom, grandpa, uncle refuses to come bond them out. It then becomes your job to acclimate the kid with reality as they have failed. I'll never understand that my parents will buy blank. What perception of the world do these people have where they think the parents will blow a lot of money just to be petty? A girl had me go in and buy her 6 cartons of cigarettes cause she didn't want to get out of the car cause she didn't want her nails broken. Said I could buy whatever I wanted. Easily what I made a week after taxes gone in seconds. Edit. Switched packs to cartons and X200B. Either cigarettes are really expensive where you live or you make shocks wages. Perhaps both. Sitting in a group discussion in college and having one kid whine that his parents were so disadvantaged that they only brought home $500K a year. 20 years ago, I sat there and kept quiet. Because my family only had $30K a year. I was only there because of scholarships and financial aid. The worst thing is all of the sympathy this kid got from the other people in the class. The school was so proud of their racial diversity, but 95% of the students came from families in the top 1% of income. I understand why you kept quiet, but the lack of knowledge of how most people live is precisely what reinforces these people's fantasy land. Did your school have a lot of international students? I really want a classic Jaguar type convertible, but annoyingly you can only get second-hand ones. You need to tell them you can get new ones. Expensive as hell, but it's possible. The hand build them with modern equipment for the enthusiasts that want the old car without old car problems. My family has one of them. Not second-hand. Did belong to my granddad, but he bought it new, and we are in no way wealthy. You do feel wealthy, cruising around in an E-Type, but then when you pull up at the thrift store you start to feel less wealthy. I knew a chick in high school who threw a tantrum that the SUV her parents, new BTW, wasn't the right color. Same here. I knew girl whose stepdad gave her his Hummer. It was 1 year old with all the bells and whistles. She cried and sobbed because she wanted a brand new one in a different color. Her parents bought it for her. When I was in 6th grade this kid would talk about how his computer is $10,000. Yet whenever I beat him in a game he would say he's having FPS lag. He would bet money that he would win then refuse to pay it because of unfair lag. Sounds like Alienware. He just bought a $9,000 monitor and a $800 Blu-ray drive. He only had $200 left for the rest. Don't make fun of him. One time a college dorm mate next door was stressing his dad hadn't yet given him money for the month, and $1,000 wasn't going to last him for the week. Meanwhile I'm having to donate plasma to afford my next meal. Life just be like that. One of my flatmates in uni was a Chinese girl who asked us all if our washing was being done. She just threw all her clothes and towels outside her room door and was expecting them all to magically get cleaned. That was an eye-opener. Bro, I try to live off less than $1,000 a month. A friend of mine is paying her abusive, cheating, heinous boyfriend's school fees from her parents' bank account. She claims they do not notice. And X200B, it costs £40,000 per year. Where do I find such a girlfriend, lol? I knew a kid named Thor growing up. He treated everyone like trash. He lived the giant obnoxious postmodern house in an otherwise normal neighborhood. I'm talking gravel lawn decorated with random spheres of differing colors. The house itself was an aluminum clad cube with curved yellow rooms jutting out. 1 year for his birthday, Thor got a 25-foot glass bird watching bridge, which was affixed to the top floor. I don't know that they had all that much money. I suspect they just wanted to feel like the big fish in a small pond. Dad was an architect, I guarantee it. And here I am wondering what the hell a bird watching bridge even is. A kid from my school was driving drunk and killed his 2 passengers. He got no jail time, no probation. His parents bought him out of it and he was still able to have his license. He was 14. Edit. For confusion. He didn't have a license at the time of the accident. He had a permit, but with that happening, they still allowed him a license later on. That makes me angry. My rich cousin contends that the reason people are poor is because they're fat and lazy. If they took better care of their appearance, they too could be rich in a society based on first impressions and looking the part. Your cousin sounds like a beep, but all things being equal, I have to imagine being fit and beautiful makes life easier than fat and ugly. I was that poor kid who ended up getting a scholarship to a ridiculous private school. The one thing that stood out massively for me was probably how much people cared about what everyone else's parents did. Like your parents' achievements counted for yourself. My daddy just brought a new plane. Yes, a little statement. So what does your dad do? When I replied duck, all they laughed and thought I was being cool about it. Who is your daddy and what does he do? I was in a similar circumstance and I'm still bitter about it. In one language lesson we all had to describe our homes and those duckers laughed at me when I described my perfectly normal house. 3 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, living room, kitchen, completely detached from reality. I'm not rich, look at my neighbor's house. It's like twice the size of mine. You might have a sprained ankle, and I might have a broken leg, but that doesn't mean you aren't injured. For the record, his neighbor's house was the same size, it just had a front deck. Dude, that comparison with the injury is astounding. On graduation day, this kid's dad shows him his brand new BMW parked out front. He proceeds to pull up next to his buddy at the traffic light by the school. He floors it on green, fishtails immediately and smashes a parked car. It lasted all of 10 minutes. A family on my brother's high school baseball team referred to their brand new Subaru as their poor person's car. Damn, I'd take a brand new Subaru any day and gladly be a poor person. Not making a car payment would help out a lot. My old roommate had been doing an internship with Nike in Portland over the summer. When he got back for our last semester, I had a breakdown about not saving enough money for my last semester. Then he shared, nonchalantly eating his chips and salsa, that he had been charging thousands of dollars in Nike limited edition shoes, Gucci products, and alcohol to his credit card for the past 4 months. His response was, "It'll all work out. I just need to send me bills to my parents. I keep forgetting to do that." At the end of the school year we had to clean out our dorm rooms. Well, this one kid whose parents flew out a servant from China to US to clean his room still blows my mind to this day. Were they an international student from China? Because if so, that's likely a normal thing for them.